Let's stay with tensions in the Middle East. US President Donald Trump's call for a regime change in Iran following the assassination of the country's supreme leader. We are now joined by SABC News correspondent Sherwin Bryce-Pease for more on this update. Sherwin, thank you so much for your time. Let's start off with the latest. And we've seen the reports coming in that the first casualties of the US have been confirmed. And those are 3 soldiers who have been affected.
And this becomes very real now for Americans. The minute you have service members or soldiers in Bali as casualties, 3 deaths, you correctly point out, confirmed by the US Central Command, this becomes a political albatross for the US president, given his action here to initiate Operation Fury, Operation Epic Fury, alongside the Israelis without congressional approval. And so this becomes a political football now in the United States. I'll just read you very briefly what the US Central Command put out a short time ago. As of 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time this morning, 3 US service members were killed in action and 5 seriously wounded as part of Operation Epic Fury. Several others sustained major shrapnel injuries and concussions in the process of being returned to duty. Major combat operations continue and our response effort is ongoing. But the Iranians here obviously able to hit a blow against the United States. As you'll understand, in Bali, the US has a massive force, an armada, if you will, that has been deployed to the region. And so success, in a sense, here by the Iranians being able to inflict casualties. You also understand that the hierarchy in Iran, including the former Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, have been decapitated, is the word that they're using in terms of this action against Iran. Hundreds of civilian casualties reported in Iran, dozens reported in Israel. And so the regional nature of this conflict, right, the number of countries in the region where US has military bases or military assets being targeted by Iran, the concern now, certainly that emanating from the UN Security Council, including from the Secretary General, is that you are now going to see a ripple effect across the region and calling in the main here, the UN Secretary General condemning these actions, but calling Mbali in the main for a political off-ramp. What that looks like, we don't really know right now, because the Security Council, where the United States sits with veto power, is not going to be catalytic in where we go here, given the US veto power in the Council. So where we go in terms of who will lead this mediation effort remains unknown moving forward.
And Sherwin, what is the latest we are seeing from US President Donald Trump, particularly now that we have seen that 3 soldiers have been affected and have since passed away because of this conflict?
Well, before the 3 casualties, the 3 deaths were confirmed here, the US president had put out a statement on Truth Social in Bali that read as follows: Iran just stated that they are going to hit very hard today, harder than they've ever hit before. They better not do that, however, because if they do, we will hit them with a force that has not been seen before. Thank you for your attention to this matter. The president posting on Truth Social earlier Sunday. We haven't actually seen the president out in public since that video was released early Saturday announcing this military action against Iran. But he was sort of almost prefacing the Iranian action here, warning that even more would come, right, in terms of the US response. And that now is likely to happen, an escalation here, given that the Iranians have successfully been able to hit US interests in the region. What the response looks like seems really, certainly has not been choreographed, but based on the president's words, one expects it to intensify. I will just also tell you briefly what the United States and the Israeli representatives said in that emergency council meeting late yesterday. Danny Danon, the permanent representative of Israel, said, our objectives are clear. It's first to eliminate the immediate threat posed by the Iranian regime. Second, to dismantle its nuclear program. Third, destroy its ballistic missile production capabilities. Fourth, neutralize naval threats. Fifth, break the terror proxy network. And then he criticized the condemnation that had been directed at Israel, including from the Secretary General, calling this hypocrisy. Of course, Iran's ambassador labeled and highlighted the fact that this was a violation of its sovereign territorial integrity, a violation of the United Nations Charter, accused the Americans and the Israelis of war crimes and crimes against humanity, and of course asserting Iran's right to self-defense here. And you understand, Mbali, that there were ongoing diplomatic talks that were mediated by Oman just as this military escalation took place. The last round of talks were held in Geneva. The Omani foreign minister had indicated that progress was being made, that a deal was within weeks away, and that Iran had essentially already agreed to limit its uranium enrichment, which is seen as critical in efforts or speculation around, or allegations, if you were, around Iran seeking to acquire a nuclear weapon. And so the concern now is that this diplomatic opportunity has been lost, and where we go from here remains unknown.
All right, and that's SABC News correspondent there, Sherwin Bryce-Pease. Thank you so much for that update.